Hi, today I want to talk a little bit about how I approach discussion boards in asynchronous classes. And a lot of what I learned about how to manage discussion boards, I've actually taken and used in my in-person classes as well. And fundamentally, I believe that if you're going to have a grade associated with participation of any sort or discussion, whether it's online or in a class, that there should be some standard for what high quality participation and discussion looks like. Ideally, there should be some rubric to share that standard or series of standards with your students or TAs or other instructors who might be teaching the class. And it should be designed to add value to the learning experience for students. So I try to avoid having discussion boards where I'm simply grading based on participation, how many times they log in, the length or other types of easily accessed metrics. I try to get at the quality of the discussion itself, the extent to which the students are pulling in information that we have learned in class and connecting that with what students have already added to the conversation and trying to find ways to move the conversation further in some sort of unifying way as opposed to everybody just waiting to have a chance to speak, which I found is a very easy trap to fall into with discussion boards, particularly asynchronous discussions, where students are really just focusing on their own interpretation of your question and maybe the readings or other materials you've given them, and they don't really easily spend time listening, reading what other people are saying, and really focusing on how the conversation may be developing. And so I found that there are a few technical approaches that I can use that have helped foster a richer dialogue, and also some very specific directions and rubric materials I've shared with students that, in my experience, has also helped improve the quality of discussion. So what's going to follow this video is a clip of me sharing my directions with students about how we approach the discussion board and what's going to be expected of them. And on my website, you'll find some materials, including my directions to students, particularly a description of what a good and a bad conversation looks like, as well as my rubric, which I share with the students in the syllabus early on and is how I grade their discussions on a weekly basis. I wish you the best of luck as you put your discussions together, and as always, if I can ever be helpful, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
We're going to spend a lot of time critiquing the literature. We're going to spend a lot of time critiquing each other. And the key to doing that productively and to doing that civilly, I believe, is to always be critiquing ideas and not critiquing people. I have a fair amount of experience teaching online, and one of the things I can tell you is that affect and context are two things that don't easily come across in a discussion board or through an email. And so we're going to have to take extra care to provide that context and affect whenever we can when we're posting onto the discussion board. And then also as readers, to give people the benefit of the doubt when you see something that could be taken the wrong way, and to understand that this is part of a lively intellectual debate we're going to engage in, and some ideas that you throw out there may not survive that debate, and that's okay, and that's part of the process. So let me talk about that process in a little bit more detail. We're going to have a 4-day cycle for each week, Monday through Thursday, and we'll have 1 or 2 discussion threads each week. Most of my discussion threads are going to run over at least 2 days, some longer. Now, what that means is that, for me, in my classes, that means that there will be beginning and end times embedded within each discussion thread. And I'll give you an example of what that means. I may have you read something, watch something, and then I'll throw out a question for you to consider. And then I'll tell you that you have until 6 p.m. on Monday to provide your initial response. Now, during that time, everybody in class will be providing a response onto the discussion board. And as that happens, you may get some ideas and want to respond right away. But we have an end date for an end time for a reason. In order for there to be a social element to this discussion on a text-based discussion board, it's important to respect what I call the turn. And the turn is that time where I'll say after 6 o'clock on Monday and before Tuesday at, say, 8 o'clock, I'll be asking you to go back and see what everybody has written, read that, and then provide responses by critiquing people's ideas, affirming some ideas, and then trying to pull out the best of what's been argued at that point and maybe reshape it. Maybe I'll give you another prompting question to sort of recontextualize those ideas. The reason for waiting until the turn to weigh in is that it gives everybody a chance to get their initial responses down, to respond to that first question. So think of it as an internet version of wait time. And then by doing that, everybody gets to be involved on a similar footing. So that means that it's an asynchronous course, meaning that you can come in and contribute and do your readings and watch your videos at 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. It doesn't really matter to me. But what does matter is it's asynchronous within frames, within certain time frames, usually 24-hour frames that I've provided. And for that reason, you'll want to have internet access and be available for the class during those 4 days a week. I will provide all of the readings and the video links up front for people who want to work ahead a little bit, and also for people who can feel they get a lot of the reading done over the weekends. There's no major assignments for this course. All of the work you do through the discussion board. And that means that the discussion board itself is expected to be maybe more than you're used to in traditional online classes. We're looking for more content, more depth of analysis, more engagement in your work on the discussion board than in a class where that might just serve as a supplement. Here it is the work that you'll be providing. So I'm looking forward to seeing that work online. And as you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I've put together a discussion group for us on Google discussion groups. And that's the groups that we'll be using throughout this course. If you have a question, I encourage you to post it on the discussion board rather than sending me a direct email, although that's fine if you feel more comfortable doing that. But I prefer the discussion board so that everybody can benefit from your question and from my answer as well. Thanks. See you online.